Something just happened that no one is talking about. And while you were watching the headlines, while the media was distracted by political theater, one man just moved $89 billion. Not invested it, not donated it, moved it. And he did it quietly. He did it systematically. He did it like someone who knows something the rest of us don't. Ladies and gentlemen, Asian guy here. I need you to stop what you're doing and listen to what I'm about to tell you. Because what we're witnessing isn't just portfolio rebalancing. It isn't just smart money taking profits. What we're witnessing is the single largest wealth repositioning event by a private individual in modern history. And the fact that it's happening in silence should terrify you. Bill Gates just liquidated $89 billion worth of assets across multiple sectors, multiple countries, and multiple asset classes. The Microsoft founder, the man who built his empire on the belief that technology would save the world, is quietly walking away from that very world. The question isn't what he sold. The question is what he knows. Let me paint you the picture that the financial media is deliberately ignoring. Over the past 18 months, Gates has been systematically unwinding positions that he held for decades. We're talking about blue-chip technology stocks, pharmaceutical giants, energy companies, real estate investment trusts, and infrastructure plays. These weren't speculative bets. These were bedrock holdings. These were the assets that smart money never sells. But here's where it gets interesting. Here's where the story stops being about one man's investment decisions and starts being about what's coming. The timing, the precision, the sectors he's targeting. This isn't random. This is preparation. Gates has dumped his entire position in several major pharmaceutical companies. The same companies that made him billions during the pandemic. The same companies that are now sitting on mountains of cash and government contracts. Why would you sell pharmaceutical stocks when the government is guaranteeing their revenue streams? Why would you exit the sector that owns the regulatory capture game? Unless you know the game is about to end. He's liquidated massive positions in technology infrastructure, companies that build the backbone of the digital economy, companies that profit from the surveillance state, companies that are embedded so deep in government contracts that they're practically public utilities. These are recession-proof, depression-proof, collapse-proof businesses. So why is he running? The energy sector tells an even darker story. Gates has been quietly exiting positions in traditional energy companies while simultaneously dumping green energy investments. Think about that for a moment. The man who spent the last decade telling us that climate change is an existential threat just sold his stake in the solution. Either he doesn't believe his own narrative or he knows something about the timeline that we don't. But it gets worse. The real estate moves are the smoking gun. Gates has been liquidating commercial real estate holdings in major metropolitan areas, not just selling buildings, selling entire portfolios. We're talking about prime real estate in New York, San Francisco, Seattle, the kind of assets that generate cash flow for generations, the kind of assets you pass down to your children. He's walking away from the American urban center story completely. Now here's what should keep you awake at night. These sales aren't being conducted through normal market mechanisms. Gates isn't putting these assets on the open market and waiting for buyers. He's conducting private transactions, block sales, off-market deals, the kind of transactions that don't show up in the daily volume, the kind of transactions that don't move prices, the kind of transactions that don't send signals to the broader market. This is wealth preservation at the highest level. This is someone who understands that the rules are about to change and that the assets that made you rich in the old system might make you poor in the new one. Let's look at where the money is going. Because $89 billion doesn't just disappear, it gets repositioned. And the positioning tells us everything we need to know about what's coming. Gates has been rotating into physical assets, farmland, massive amounts of farmland. He's now the largest private farmland owner in the United States. While everyone else is buying digital assets and technology stocks, he's buying the thing that humans need to survive. He's also been moving money into foreign currencies and foreign assets, not just diversification, full-scale geographic arbitrage. He's betting against the dollar. He's betting against American supremacy. He's positioning for a world where the rules we've lived by for the past 50 years no longer apply. Think about the psychology of this move. Bill Gates is 70 years old. He has more money than he could spend in 10 lifetimes. His children are set for generations. Why does he care about optimizing his portfolio at this stage of his life? Unless this isn't about optimization, unless this is about survival, the man who built Microsoft from nothing, who understands systems better than almost anyone alive, is systematically exiting the system he helped create. That's not a trading decision. That's an evacuation. But here's where it gets truly disturbing. Gates isn't just selling assets. He's selling assets and then using his foundation to influence the very markets he's exiting. Think about that level of coordination. Think about that level of inside information. He dumps pharmaceutical stocks while his foundation shapes global health policy. He exits energy investments while his climate initiatives redirect government spending. He liquidates real estate while his urban planning projects reshape how cities function. This isn't just insider trading. This is system-level manipulation conducted through philanthropic cover. And it's all perfectly legal because the rules were written by the same class of people who are now executing these moves. The timing of these sales coincides with some very specific global developments: the breakdown of the dollar-based international system, the acceleration of de-dollarization by major economies, the emergence of alternative trading blocs, the weaponization of the financial system through sanctions and seizures. Gates is reading the same intelligence reports that government officials are reading, and those reports are telling him that the game is over. We're also seeing coordination with other ultra-high net worth individuals. While Gates is liquidating, so are others, quietly, systematically. The Davos crowd isn't just talking about stakeholder capitalism anymore. They're positioning for it. They're moving their wealth into assets that will be valuable in a world where traditional property rights no longer exist, where governments can seize assets at will, where the middle class gets wiped out to pay for the excesses of the system. The media blackout on this story is almost as telling as the story itself. $89 billion is real money. It should be front-page news. It should be moving markets. It should be generating analysis and commentary. Instead, we get silence. We get misdirection. We get stories about everything except the elephant in the room. Why isn't CNBC talking about this? Why isn't the Wall Street Journal doing deep dives on the largest wealth movement in modern history? Because they're part of the same system. Because their advertisers are the same companies that Gates is quietly exiting. Because their audience is retail investors who might panic if they understood what the smart money is actually doing. This isn't just about Bill Gates. He's just the most visible example of a broader phenomenon. The people who built the current system are quietly abandoning it. They're taking their money and running, and they're leaving the rest of us holding the bag. The infrastructure investments he's abandoning are the same infrastructure that supports middle-class jobs. The technology companies he's exiting are the ones that employ millions of people. The real estate he's liquidating is the foundation of American retirement savings through pension funds and 401k plans. When these assets start declining because the smart money is gone, guess who loses? But the most terrifying part of this story isn't what Gates is selling, it's what he's buying. Farmland gives him control over food production. Foreign assets give him optionality if the American system collapses. Private transactions give him the ability to move money without triggering systemic alarms. This isn't wealth management. This is preparation for a completely different world. Think about what Bill Gates knows that we don't. He sits on boards with central bankers. He attends meetings with world leaders. He has access to intelligence reports that shape global policy. When someone with that level of access starts moving $89 billion out of the traditional system, it's not a market call. It's a survival strategy. The acceleration of these sales over the past 6 months suggests that whatever he is preparing for is getting closer. The urgency suggests that the timeline has moved up. The scope suggests that the change is going to be bigger than most people can imagine. We're watching the managed demolition of the American financial system. And the people managing the demolition are making sure they have lifeboats before they blow the holes in the hull. Gates isn't just preserving his wealth. He's preserving his ability to shape what comes next. While everyone else is fighting over the scraps of the old system, he's already building the new one. The $89 billion move isn't the end of the story. It's the beginning. It's the signal that the transition is accelerating, that the old rules are about to stop working, that the assets that made people rich in the past might make them poor in the future. And here's the final piece that should make your blood run cold. If Bill Gates is wrong, if the system doesn't collapse, if the dollar doesn't lose its reserve status, if the current order survives, then he just made the worst investment decision in history. He just threw away $89 billion for nothing. But if he's right, if what he's preparing for actually happens, then the people who ignored the warning signs are going to lose everything. The question isn't whether you believe Bill Gates is a good person or a bad person. The question is whether you believe he's a smart person. And smart people don't liquidate $89 billion unless they know something. Something big. Something that changes everything. The silence around this story isn't an accident. It's a strategy. Keep the general public focused on political theater while the real players reposition for what's coming. By the time the mainstream media acknowledges what's happening, the lifeboats will already be full. Bill Gates didn't get rich by following the crowd. He got rich by seeing around corners, by understanding systems before other people did, by positioning for changes that others couldn't see coming. And right now, he's positioning like someone who sees the biggest change of all coming, the end of the system that made him rich, and the beginning of something else entirely. Watch the money. Ignore the words. The $89 billion liquidation is the most honest signal you're going to get about what's really coming. And what's coming is not what they're telling you to prepare for.